Today we're going to talk about Shutao's paper and how to save it. One of the key things was changing the title of the paper, Shutao, was because it's asked to not have specific focus on NF-kappa B or BCL6. And the reason is because we don't have critical manipulations of that. When you say a title of a paper, you've got to be manipulating the thing that's in the title. What we manipulate here is IL-17 receptor. So the title of your paper becomes something like IL-17 receptor signaling as a switch for germinal center B cell that inhibits marginal zone development, or IL-17 receptor signaling regulates just germinal center and marginal zone B cell development, so something like that. Why? Because we manipulate IL-17. Now, here's the way the paper's got to be. With that new title, now everything sort of fits. The first step in the paper, which I think should be 2/5 of it, or maybe more like, some relatively good introduction, is IL-17 receptor signaling, which we already showed up goes through P65, upregulates RGS. Also, upregulates a bunch of genes that are pro-germinal center, like BCL6. That prevents apoptosis, blocks pathways of B cells that not develop in the germinal center. So it really intensifies the germinal center reaction. At the same time, it lowers other pathways, such as BLIMP1 and P50, which are necessary for the marginal zone, and BLIMP1 is necessary for plasma cells. So it's a key thing. Here, Scott, come on over here. And the thing is that we have to do more of. We have to look at more things like that. But you've got genes, so that's the main thing. Is just like the title. IL-17 does seem to act as a switch, focusing on germinal center, blocking plasma cells and marginal zone. Now the next step is manipulating. How can you manipulate this? Well, notice we're not focusing on P50 or not focusing on NF-kappa B, so we don't need to manipulate them. What we have to do is manipulate IL-17 because that's what the title's about. So this is the thing we need to build out. Add IL-17R FC and add IL-17 to block IL-17 in vivo and to increase IL-17 in vivo in the BXD2 situation where there is IL-17 receptor. That's why we have to do that next. We switch it. We look at things in vitro and look at genes, but now we have to see is it really true in vivo. For example, give IL-17RFC and we watch. We look at these genes, which you already have some. P50 goes up. BCL6 goes down. You have that in your phax. It'd be nice to have it both the same way because P50 is on Western blot and the other is a phax. But that, whatever we can do. We should look at genes. We have to look at genes too, and maybe we have those. With this manipulation, I don't think you do have them actually. We look at the genes and we look at development. See, its development is in the title. So now IL-17RFC, we know what's going to happen. It's going to shrink the germinal center and it's going to expand the marginal zone because we already did it. But we didn't do the detailed phax, so we can look at that. So we'll do that in the phax. And in B6 and BXD2, see if it matters. And then, B6, see what changes are there. And IL-17, do that in B6 and BXD2. Then we see if that does the expected result. And we look at the phax, we look at histology, we look at gene expression, all the genes, the developmental genes, and if possible, P50, and then if possible, even the signaling, but we may not have to do all that. But this is 2/5 of the paper, and right now it's not built up enough. And finally, because the IL-17 receptor knockout mice, without IL-17 receptor, it's so hard to do things with that. But because, then they don't have the receptor and you can't really signal. So that's sort of like confirmatory. We predict certain things. In the absence of IL-17 receptor, based on all this, we would predict that P50 would be up and BCL6 would be down. And I think you do have that P50 is high. But notice it's shoved at the end. The paper's not P50 centric. The increased P50 and IL-17 receptor knockout is now down there as a confirmatory point that shows that marginal zone. And then, of course, we show that the MZ is high, so P50 is so high and MZ is high. Now it sort of favors that pathway of development. And then also PP65, or I should say BCL6 is low and AID is low. Of course they're low because germinal center is low. People may think it's so obvious. But then we get into that pathway is now facilitated or inhibited. And the other thing is, in these mice, P50 is high, and we get into decreased NF-kappa B signaling. And that's something that, comes back, remember that comes back to development, because high signaling promotes the B cell to go to FO, go through T1, T2, and then FO. That's high IgM signaling. Whereas low IgM signaling promotes the other pathway. So we kind of even tied that development. Could the decrease in signaling that's caused by the high NF-kappa B, we would predict we go like this. We predict there's decreased signaling because of this high P50. And that may be one of the factors that favors the high marginal zone developments, which we already show. And then so you look at it, and sure enough, you stimulate with other things like anti-mu, and signaling's down. That high mu signaling favors the FO in the germinal center. Low favors the marginal zone.
I see.
So see, we kind of asked the right question. In fact, it's the same thing as here. We change the title, and then within the paper, you change each question to the answer. Once you know the answer, so that it fits. You ask the answer in a reasonable way, in a way that, or you ask a question in a way that you already have the answer to. See, so that's the main message of this: is change the title and change each part of the paper to questions, to important questions that you have answered. Which is why we can't put P50 in the title. Because then they say, well, you got to up and down regulate P50, which of course we can't do directly. That's why we can't put BCL6 in the title and say that's what it did. Because then you got to up or down regulate BCL6. We can't do that either. So we do what we ask, we change the title and each question to something that we can manipulate. See the trick here? So, okay, that's how Shutao's paper will become a great paper.